Daily News. Today presenting student Juan Diego Montoya. Jack the Ripper is back. The mysterious serial killer Jack the Ripper is blamed for at least 5 homicides in the Whitechapel district of London in 1888. His method of execution included deformity of the faces of women, abdominal mutilation, organ removal, and throat slashing. Jack the Ripper was the worst killer London had seen. London East End was crammed with people and had a poor quality of life in the middle of the 19th century. As lower class districts proliferated and had high rates of prostitution, alcoholism, and poverty, the situation grew worse. Before the killings, Whitechapel had a troubled history that included anti Semitism, racism, crime, rioting, and poverty. The Whitechapel dossier was comprised of 6 further crimes, even though the London police only charged one person in connection with 5 killings. The newspapers connected a different string of murders that occurred to the Ripper, albeit there are several contradictions in this connection. Although nearly 300 prospective candidates were examined, no clues arose. So neither the police nor Scotland Yard escaped criticism and controversy since they were unable to identify the serial killer. Today, a series of assassinations in the same place and in the same way are taking place. We will have the police examine this case again. Some people say Jack the Ripper is back. Daily News Today.
Welcome to Daily News. Today we are going to talk with 5 people about important news related to crimes or actions against laws. Let's start with the first news. Hi, I'm Judith Londoño Gomez, and this is a news about a crime on the roof of a school. The morning of last Saturday, April 22nd, a terrified and defenseless mental patient was killed by several shots, whose victim of one of the impacts fell to the ground from the roof of the local school on Jefferson Street in Kimberly, Alabama. The shooter, police officer Connor Jones, who had been assigned to the area and had been called to the scene by the victim's parents and siblings to persuade the mentally ill boy to come down from the school roof. However, he did not do so. With terrifying coldness, Agent Jones carried out the sentence that he expressed from the moment he entered the scene. It is better to kill him, and that he did. Another uniformed man tried to prevent the homicide. Jones did not stop, neither before the request of the crowd nor before the action of another agent who was already subduing the boy, nor before the pleas for mercy of the mother of the victim, who on her knees begged for the life of her son. So the agent fired. It is so important get the case evaluated by juridical entities, taking special care with compliance with the normative and the statutes of the penal code. The Council of the State must issue a diktat against the police to obey with the established legislation, and, if necessary, compensate the relatives of the victim since the officer's actions were totally disproportionate, irresponsible, and negligent. The agent arguments that the gun was discharged accidentally. According to the witnesses of the case, the events occurred as invoked next. The boy, Jacob Taylor, suffered from mental deviations, but he was not violent. That morning of Saturday, April 22nd, he went to the local school. He climbed on a plank that was there and threw the plank to the roof. where he broke two or three roof tiles. In view of this, some people went to call their parents and siblings. When his relatives saw that he did not get up where he was, they decided to ask the police to help them to pick him up to take him to the mental hospital. And they had such bad luck that what they found to help them was some drunk police officers. When they arrived at the place, they told their relatives that it was better to kill him, and that was what they did. In the presence of his parents and siblings who were present at the scene, the police murdered him. Neither the pleas of the anguished mother who on her knees asked them not to kill him were worthless, nor the request of the concerned brothers in the same sense. So they did not pay attention to them. But the saddest and most painful thing was that Jacob Taylor was already getting ready to get up where he was. More than 40 people who were then can attest to it. I wonder, since when does a gun accidentally fire several times in a row? The patient, with no possibility of defense, could not attack and put in danger a group of policemen, and the pieces of tile roof thrown by a concerned person cannot be repelled with bullets. Based on this and other evidence, the Council of the State must enforce the rules of the law and comply with the press, referring to the case with all the legality and the case requires. The state must have the police comply with the laws because rules are not made to be broken.
Hello, guys. Good night. It's me again, Camila Almanza. I'm here and being part of this amazing podcast with so sad histories. Right now, I want to talk about one of the most sad that I've heard until now, and is the murder of Leary Street. Leary Street is a small community on Lirio and is ruling from the murder of a young college student. Her name was Elena Martinez. Elena's body was found in her apartment on Leary Street on the morning of Thursday on April 17th. Some detective investigating the case believe she was killed the night before. When the detectives who arrived at the crime scene found Elena in her bedroom, she had been stabbed multiple times in the chest and stomach. I think that is really sad to die in that way. Well, continuing with the history. The room was in complete disarray with objects strewn about everywhere, and the investigators believed there was a struggle before the murder. She fought for her life. Elena was a fresh girl at the local university. She was known for being a bright and a really dedicated student, and many of her classmates are shocked about her death. Police are speaking with Elena's friends and family to find any leads on who may have wanted to harm him, to do that to her. And according to some neighbors, they didn't hear anything unusual during the night in question. However, one neighbor reported seeing an unknown man leaving the building around 11 p.m. That's an important clue, you guys. You know, an investigation. So, what happened next? The police have asked anyone who saw anything unusual or has information about the case to come forward with the case. Police are also examining the Elena's history for any clues. So far, they have not found anything to suggest she was involved in anything dangerous or that anyone may have wanted to harm her. The lead detective on the case, Luis Gonzalez, said, "We're working diligently to solve this case and bring those responsible to justice. Anyone with information about the murder of Elena Martinez should contact us immediately." The community is really reeling from this tragic event, and many are concerned about their safety. Police have promised to increase patrols in the area to ensure residents feel safe, but for them it's not the same. The murder has left the community devastated and seeking answers. Police is keeping working to find the culprit and bring them to justice. Anyone with information about the case should invoke their civic duty to come forward and contact authorities immediately. In these cases, it's important to the penal code is forced and that those responsible are held accountable. The ordinance of the law must be binding on all citizens, regardless for the status or position. The administrative branch of the government must ensure that the provision of the law are followed and that justice is served. It's a hope that the provision of justice will bring some closure to the community on the street, and the city council will continue to work normatively, so they ensure that the community is safe and secure, and that the lightness of the law is respected. The decorative nature of the law must be upheld, and violators must face the consequences of their actions. And yes, guys, this is the history for tonight. We hope that Elena can find answers and Elena's family can find a peace for them and also the people from leadership. So don't stop watching and don't stop listening this amazing podcast.
The life of the Taborda family. One weekend in October, the Taborda family had decided to visit their grandparents on the farm that was 3 hours up the mountain. They were all very happy to spend that time outside of town. It was a cold and dark night when he left home towards his destination. When they were about to leave town, a police officer approached them and and asked them what their destination was, to which the enthusiastic father replied, "To my parents' house." Then the officer smiled with the two children and the mother and he told them, "Have a good trip. And remember, the law says that you can't travel the routes after 8 at night." To which the father replied, saying, "Yes, sir." So they continued on their way, but not without first invoking God to protect them on their way. After 3 hours of driving, the family arrived at the place. It is not a very visually pleasing place because it is a forest protected by the Ranger Administrative Department. So not a single tree can be felled, and their red tape is a bit annoying. But this does not prevent the family from sharing with the grandparents and going for a walk to the river. At this time, the father had been a little disturbed by the officer's warning, but he did not listen to his premonition because for this special day it was inevitable to think in this way. One of the sons decided to go up to a webphone to visualize the last guy much better, but he forgot that the code conduct in the river was rigged with the insoles of waterfall, because it was not allowed to climb more than 3 meters high, and he exceeded the limit legal signs. He was an athlete passionate about acts in extreme plays. The mother exclaimed, "I don't think so." She knew that it was extremely extremely dangerous, and that it was not legal to be in that place. The department. Mother went up very quickly in order to lower herself from three, but she did not notice that the stone where she stepped on was loose, so she slipped and fell on the cliff, and much of the group um, of leftward tried to find his whereabouts. It was impossible. Unfortunately, the father's fear had finally come true and would possibly return home without Mom. Since that day, the normative code of the forest is strict and people are not allowed to go near.
New decree invokes the rule of law in legality and juridical matters. In a bid to strengthen the country legal system, the government has issued a new decree that seeks to regulate the use of statutes, rules, and the protocols in legal proceedings. The new juridical decree, which was signed into law by the President, emphasized the importance of the rule of law and the adherence to legality in all aspects of governance. According to the new legislation, legal proceedings must adhere to the rule of law, which is a fundamental principle that ensures that no one is above the law and that everyone is subject to the same laws and regulations. The decree also established guidelines for the use of statutes, rules, and the protocols in legal proceedings in the aims to prevent the abuse of powers by authorities and the promote transparency and fairness in the legal system. The new legislation has been welcomed by legal experts and civil society organizations who have long been advocating for the strengthening of the rule of law in the country. They believe that the new decree will help to promote accountability and prevent instances of arbitrary dictates. In conclusion, the new decree is a significant step towards the promotion of the rule of law and the protection of individual rights and freedoms. It is expected to have a positive impact on the country's legal system and promote the principles of justice and fairness in legal proceedings.